The 70s were pure overload. Stadiums packed to the rafters, FM DJs spinning the same riff all day long, posters of rock gods taped to every bedroom wall. One record deal, one killer single, and you were everywhere. But the spotlight moves fast. Some bands held on, others vanished overnight. Where did they go? Why couldn't they ride the wave into the next decade? Tonight we're digging up 12 acts that ruled the charts, packed the arenas, and then disappeared without a trace. Number 1. T-Rex.
Get it on, bang a gong, get it on.
In the autumn of '71, Electric Warrior planted itself at number 1 on the UK album chart and stayed there 8 straight weeks. Ultimately logging 44 weeks in the top 75. A label the tabloids ran as T-Rex-tasy, borrowing the frenzy vocabulary once reserved for Beatlemania. American DJ retitled Get It On to Bang a Gong, and a single cracked the Billboard Top 10 in March 1972, giving Mark Bolan his first US pop strike. Bolan, glittered cheeks, feather boas, velvet stacks, broke every dress code in suburban high schools, but his superstardom ran on borrowed time. In the early hours of September 16, 1977, a purple Mini 1275 GT failed to clear a humpback bridge in southwest London. Bolan, 29, died before paramedics arrived. With their songwriter and sole constant member gone, the band dissolved within days. T-Rex left behind only a handful of American hits. Yet every time that fuzzbox riff slides out of a movie trailer or truck ad, the sparkle of early 70s glam flickers back to life. Number 2. Bay City Rollers. Swap glitter for tartan and you get the Bay City Rollers. Edinburgh teenagers who looked like a photo spread from Tiger Beat and for a blinding moment rivaled the Beatles' scream count. Industry tallies claim the group moved as many as 120 million records between 1974 and 1977, an empire built on bubblegum choruses and plaid scarf sales. America fell on January 3, 1976, when Saturday Night punched to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Making them the first UK teen act to top the US charts since Beatlemania faded. At London's New Victoria Theatre that September, security stopped the show twice while medics hauled out fans crushed against the stage barricade. A scene newspaper filed under the newly minted term Roller Mania. Fame, however, hides ugly math. The Rollers later sued Arista Records.
Goes by, but I just don't care.
Saying they had seen only a single royalty check, about $250,000 over a quarter century. After nearly a decade in court, Sony settled for roughly $3.5 million in 2016, leaving each classic member with about $90,000 once lawyers took their cut. By the time the check cleared, Les McEwen's tabloid-ready partying had long outshone the music. Punk and disco had elbowed Plaid off the radio, and reunion tours drew nostalgia crowds rather than stampedes. The screamers grew up, the scarves went in attic boxes, and another 70s fairy tale snapped shut. Number 3. Grand Funk Railroad. They came out of Flint, Michigan with Marshall, Stax, and blue-collar swagger. And by 1971, they were headlining Shea Stadium. Tickets for that show, more than 55,000 of them, vanished in 72 hours, beating the Beatles' sales record and forcing the New York press to admit these people's rockers had become a stadium phenomenon. Between 1969 and 1975, the trio piled up 12 gold and 10 platinum awards and moved more than 25 million records worldwide. A run capped by the single "We're an American Band," which hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in September 1973. Success, though, came with an ugly price tag. Manager Terry Knight controlled the purse strings, and when the band fired him in '72, they discovered he owned their equipment, their publishing, even their name. Knight sued for $8 million. The group countersued, tying them in court for years and draining money almost as fast as the gold records arrived. The legal war, constant touring, and a shift towards softer singles like their chart-topping cover of The Locomotion left guitarist Mark Farner and drummer Don Brewer burned out. After one last album in '76, the original lineup walked away, and the band that once outsold the Stones on the US concert trail slipped quietly off the front pages. Reunions surface now and then, but the Shea Stadium record remains the monument to a moment when Grand Funk really did belong to the people.
As long as we can make it to the show tonight, we're an American band.
Number 4. Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
It's a neon, yeah.
If Grand Funk were the people's band, ELP were the rocket scientists. Mix of classical themes, Moog fireworks, and 20-minute epics turned progressive rock into box office gold. 9 RIAA certified gold albums in the United States and an estimated 48 million records sold worldwide. On April 6, 1974, they co-headlined California Jam before a paying crowd of roughly 250,000 fans. Keith Emerson topped it off by playing a grand piano, while it spun 50 feet above the stage, a stunt as over the top as their 40-ton touring rig. Yet the bigger the show, the heavier the overhead. A 1977 world tour with a full orchestra bled cash, punk rock sneered at Prague Excess, and the long-delayed album Love Beach, released late in 1978 with a disco-era photo of the band shirtless on a Caribbean shore, arrived to withering reviews and fan confusion. Creative tensions followed, planned summer dates collapsed, and without any formal farewell, ELP simply stopped in 1979. Its 3 virtuosos scattering to solo projects and new groups.
Do you want to be the lover of another?
Later reunions drew faithful crowds, but the age of spinning pianos and 20-minute drum solos had passed. For one Technicolor decade, though, they proved that brainy bombast could fill the same arenas as any 3-chord anthem. Number 5. The Suite. Glam needed a sugar rush, and this London 4-piece delivered. Between 1971 and 1978, they reeled off 13 straight UK top 20 singles, helping themselves to more than 35 million in global album sales before anyone could say platform boots. The Ballroom Blitz, written after the band dodged a hail of bottles at a Scottish gig.
Oh, yeah, it's like lightning. Everybody was lightning.
Hit #1 in Canada and climbed to number 5 on the US Hot 100, turning the airwaves into a glitter hurricane. 2 years later, Fox on the Run, their first self-pinned hit, repeated the trick and pushed them onto American primetime TV.
Don't wanna know your name, 'cause you don't look the same.
Success, though, rode the edges of chaos. Singer Brian Connolly's drinking began to wreck shows. Drummer Mick Tucker battled illness. When Connolly finally quit in '79, the power pop hooks dried up, and the trio left standing managed just one minor hit before folding in 1981. The glam look rolled on to inspire everyone from Def Leppard to Motley Crue. The band that coined it ended in silence. Their beer ball legacy sealed the moment the glitter settled. Number 6. Faces.
Stay with me, 'cause tonight you're gonna stay.
With a sweet offered sparkle, Faces supplied pub-ready swagger. Their third LP, A Nod Is As Good As a Wink to a Blind Horse, reached number 2 in Britain and number 6 in the States, moving a quick 500,000 US copies on Rod Stewart's raspy magnetism and Ronnie Wood's backyard bonfire riffs. Lead single, Stay With Me, shot to number 6 at home and number 17 on the Billboard chart, packing enough bar band punch that American DJs still drop it before last call. Yet fame split the group in two directions at once. Stewart's solo smash Maggie May demanded more of his time, and Wood's jam sessions with the Rolling Stones kept running long. By late '75, keyboardist Ian McLaughlin jokingly called their schedule "Whoever Shows Up." That December they played a final charity gig. Weeks later, Stewart flew off to Los Angeles sessions. Wood packed for the Stones and drummer Kenny Jones headed toward The Who. Faces left only 4 studio albums, but their loose limb style became the blueprint for every roots rock bar band that followed. Proof that a song shouted in unison can shake an arena just as hard as any laser show. Number 7, 10cc.
I'd like to see you, but then again.
Soft, dreamy, and built almost entirely from whispered backing vocals, I'm Not in Love floated to number 1 in Britain for 2 weeks during the summer of 1975.
Above the wall.
And held number 2 on the US Hot 100 for 3 more. The single's studio bill ran so high, 11 days just to layer the choir-like tape loops, that record company accountants nearly pulled the plug.
Do the Wall Street Shuffle.
Then watch the investment pay off when 10cc's worldwide album sales pushed past 30 million. Less than a year later, the magic core cracked. Founders Kevin Godley and Lowell Krim walked out to chase an experimental guitar gadget they called the Gizmotron, and to cut a triple LP art project with comedian Peter Cook, an exit that split the Hit Factory right down the middle. Remaining members Graham Goldman and Eric Stewart soldiered on, but the follow-up singles never matched the perfume counter-pull of I'm Not in Love. By 1983, the tours had shrunk to theaters. Stewart was recovering from a near-fatal car crash, and the last studio album disappeared without a ripple. Today, the band's legacy lives in movie love scenes and late-night radio dedications, proof that one perfectly engineered ballad can outlast an entire catalog. Number 8, Thin Lizzy. Twin lead guitars snarling in harmony. Phil Lynott's leather and poetry swagger up front. By the spring of 1976, The Boys Are Back in Town was blasting from every Camaro 8-track and climbing the Billboard chart on its way to classic rock immortality. The parent LP, Jailbreak, shipped 500,000 copies in the States and eventually cleared the 2 million mark worldwide, giving the Dublin outfit its first US gold plaque. Rolling Stone later slotted the song at number 272 on its 500 greatest songs list, but those accolades arrived after the band's slide had begun. Endless road work, visa tangles, and Lynott's increasing drug use frayed the lineup. Guitarist after guitarist bailed out, and medical bills ate through tour profits. On January 4th, 1986, Lynott died of heart failure brought on by pneumonia and years of heroin abuse. Then Lizzy tried to rally under guitarist Scott Gorham. Yet, without the songwriter who wrote street poems like Cowboy Song, chemistry was gone. Today, their riffs live on in every metal act that borrows the twin guitar template. But the original spark burned out with the man who signed every lyric sheet. Yours, Phil Lynott. Number 9, Slade. Before you ever heard the phrase, "Come on, feel the noise," Slade was already the loudest thing on British radio. From 1971 through 1974, they racked up 17 straight top 20 singles and 6 different number 1s. More top 10 hits in that stretch than any other UK act. The press crowned them the most successful British group of the 70s. On singles sales, and TV specials showed fans in home-sewn tartan trousers chanting Noddy Holder's name like it was a soccer anthem. Their riffs were simple enough for every garage band, yet the numbers were anything but small. Industry tallies put worldwide sales north of 50 million records. Come On Feel the Noise shot straight to number 1. The week it was released in February 1973, making Slade the first act ever to see 3 singles storm the chart at the very top. Then ambition tripped them up. A hard push into the American market stalled after a disastrous stateside tour in 1975, and a near-fatal car crash left drummer Don Powell badly injured. Back home, Glam's glitter was giving way to punk sneers, and Slade's chart power dipped just as fast as it had risen. A surprise encore arrived in 1984 when Runaway finally cracked US radio, peaking at number 20 on the Billboard Hot 100 and spending 17 weeks on the chart. The spark was brief. By 1992, frontman Noddy Holder and bassist Jim Lean, who wrote every one of those #1 hits, walked away, citing burnout and endless feuds. Guitarist Dave Hill still tours county fairs under the name, yet the roar that once outsold Elton John's singles is now a fond December memory. Spinning every time Merry Xmas Everybody hits the shopping mall speakers. Number 10. The Runaways. If Slade were British lads in stacked heel boots, the Runaways were California teenagers in leather who decided girls could play as hard as any boys' club. Ages 16 and under when they formed in 1975, they lit their fuse with Cherry Bomb, a 2-minute shout-along Joan Jett, and manager Kim Fowley hammered out in an afternoon. The single later landed at number 52 on VH1's 100 Greatest Hard Rock Songs, and remains the unofficial anthem of every garage door rebellion. America blinked, but Japan went full superfan. All 3 studio albums were certified gold there, and a 1977 tour sold out Tokyo's Budokan, and other arenas so fast Mercury Records pressed a live LP only for the Japanese market. On stage, the band looked fearless. Off stage, they were a powder keg. Fowley controlled their contracts. Fights over money and lead vocal duties split by Sherry Curry from the rest of the group, and stories of exploitation multiplied. Decades later, former members would testify under oath about assaults they said happened during those very tours. By April 1979, the experiment was over. Joan Jett wanted punk pop, Lita Ford wanted heavy metal, and neither spoke to Fowley again. The Runaways left behind just 4 albums, 1 legendary live set, and enough myth to inspire every all-female rock lineup that followed. Their entire lifespan fits inside 4 whirlwind years, yet the echo of Hello Daddy, Hello Mom, I'm Your Cherry Bomb still blows the dust off every dive bar jukebox that dares to keep a 45 slot free. Number 11. Humble Pie. When the double live performance, Rockin' the Fillmore, landed in November 1971, it captured 4 blistering New York sets on wax, roared up to number 21 on the Billboard 200, and became the band's first RIAA gold record, all without a single hit on the radio. The applause was still echoing when guitarist Peter Frampton quit, but frontman Steve Marriott doubled down. Just 5 months later, Humble Pie came back with Smokin'. The album parked at number 6 on the Billboard chart, went gold and pushed the barn burner, 30 Days in the Hole. Onto every FM playlist worth its rolling paper. Behind the boards, the mood was far from mellow. Endless touring, an $8 million lawsuit over management fees, and a river of cocaine turned rehearsals into shouting matches. Marriott's voice could still peel paint, but the singer himself was running on fumes. By 1975, the original lineup splintered, and the group that once outsold arena headliners was suddenly bar band size. Marriott died in a house fire in 1991. Frampton carved out a solo legacy, but the band that first boogied the Fillmore into submission never found its way back to the big stages. Number 12. Mott the Hoople. Spring 1972 broke. Exhausted and ready to quit, the band took a last chance meeting with a young David Bowie. He handed them all the young dudes, produced the session himself, and inside 6 weeks the single was blaring from jukeboxes across Britain. It peaked at number 3 in the UK and cracked the US Hot 100 at number 37, instantly rewriting their fortunes and giving glam rock its rallying cry.
Go sing it on the streets. Go tell the world.
12 months later, the group was headlining double shows at London's Hammersmith Odeon. The second night devolved into a full-on stage invasion, the press nicknamed the Mott Riot. While Bowie and Mick Jagger looked on from the wings, their 1973 follow-up, LP Mott, surged to number 7 on the UK album chart and broke the US top 40. Proving the hit wasn't a fluke, and the center collapsed. Guitarist Mick Ralphs bolted to start Bad Company. Frontman Ian Hunter was hospitalized with exhaustion, and by December 1974, Mott the Hoople had called it quits after barely 5 years together. They left behind just a handful of chart singles, but every time Bowie's teenage anthem spins, a flash of that Hammersmith chaos, fans hurdling seats while Hunter belts the chorus, comes roaring back. And so, 12 titans who once shook arenas and now remain mainly in memory. Some were KO'd by bad deals, some by black ice, others by the simple fact that the crowd moved on. For one blazing moment though, each one felt immortal. Which name hit you hardest? Drop it below and tip us off to the next forgotten flame you want unearthed. If you're game for more lost legend stories, punch that subscribe and we'll queue up another deep cut.